If you've been following the niche 20-year-old browser-based game space lately, or John Legend for some reason, the word Neopets may be on your radar. After years of near radio silence, the old girl is coming back for round 2 with a steel chair. As an avid Neopets player with absolutely nothing better to do, I'm here to tell you every single detail about the new era of Neopets, the team's promises, and how well they've done at upholding them, and the future of the website. I hope you're prepared, because God knows I'm not. Before we begin, let's discuss some backstory. Neopets is a virtual pet website that was originally created for college students to waste time on in 1999, but quickly became a global phenomenon in the early 2000s. Players can adopt and care for a pet of their choice, contribute to the Neopian economy, get into snotty little cat fights with other players on the Neo boards, and create adorable customizations for their cute little pixel guys. Neopets secured itself as a giant in the kids' entertainment industry throughout its early years, releasing merchandise, Nintendo games, McDonald's toys, and even handheld Tamagotchi things. I'm not 100% sure what the hell these are, but they pretty much had it all. Many people have incredibly fond memories of Neopets from their childhood, and it made a very big impact on the gaming space as a whole. But of course, as most things do, as the years went on, Neopets slowly and quietly faded into the background, much like many other MMOs did at the time. I've already talked about this topic in another video at length because I can't shut the fuck up, so if you want to hear more about that, I will link that video in the description. But in the shortest of explanations, the internet started evolving and Neopets stayed behind. When the site started slowing down, another virtual world company named Jumpstart purchased it from Viacom, which is the company behind Nickelodeon, who had been running the IP for years. You may have played their, other interesting games as a child. Once this acquisition occurred, the upkeep and amount of feature additions severely dwindled, and Neopets fell into a somewhat desolate, forgotten state. The death of Flash Player in 2020 was pretty much the final nail in the coffin for the site, which was run almost solely on the engine, and Neopets has been operating at a loss ever since. A small but dedicated community has kept the spirit of this site alive while it's in its sleep, and I'm a part of that community. All of this was the gospel truth until 2023, specifically summer of 2023. In June of this year, Jumpstart made headlines as it announced its closure, killing off almost all of its brands and services, which presumably included Neopets. This didn't quite come as a shock to most people, with other major virtual worlds saying bye years before, but let me tell you, waking up to that message in the morning after having just traded for a really good pet that I really wanted almost made me into a monster. I'm normal and can be trusted with Neopets.com, I assure you. Neopets made a statement on the matter, assuring that the brand wasn't going anywhere and would in fact be working with a company named Fluffy Dog Studios. If you're like, what the fuck is Fluffy Dog Studios? Don't worry, that was the general consensus. Looking into this developer, their website is odd at the very least. They seem to have only worked on one completed game, which is Neopets Island Builders, a mobile game that's currently getting revamped. There is another game reportedly in progress, but that's about it. Some say that they're an offshoot of Jumpstart, but it was incredibly hard to find any information on them, so I can't confirm that. Either way, for players, it seemed that Neopets was still alive, but in a precarious situation. Fast forward to July 17th, a normal day in Neopia for most, when suddenly a huge announcement was posted to all of the company's social medias as well as the community Discord server. A Medium article was published. The room falls silent. An angel from heaven comes down and looks at you with a fucking Kubrick stare. It's happening. In this article, TNT announced that their overall leadership team had been completely overhauled and that they were no longer owned by any parent company. So fuck Fluffy Dog Studios, I guess, I don't know. A buyout was organized to move Neopets to be its own company, and the entire Neopets brand now operates under World of Neobia Inc., headed by Dominic Law. If you're a patented Izzy's viewer like most good people on this earth are, you probably know that name, whether you remember it or not. Dominic Law has been with the Neopets team, or TNT, for some time, being a NetDragon, which is Jumpstart's parent company, employee since 2020, and Chief Metaverse Officer beginning in 2022. I love going on LinkedIn. As we all know, I would rather dunk my head into a nuclear reactor's water tank than take a look at an NFT, and that is a sentiment shared by many Neopets players, so it was interesting at the very least to see somebody with that area of expertise take over the company. But back to the announcement. The team explained that Neopets was attempting to reinvigorate themselves and create a new life for both players old and new, stating, "Until this point, Neopets has been running at a loss for over a decade, making it hard to enact any major overhaul. However, in early 2023, Neopets raised $4 million in funding from various investors with plans to nurture a shared dream of an immersive, community-driven gaming experience." In tandem with additional funding from the management buyout, TNT has been primed to enact real, actionable change for Neopets. We truly want more for Neopians. This magical community deserves to thrive, not just survive. Thanks to our new leadership direction and the fresh source of funding, it finally can. The Neopets team is, for the first time in over a decade, equipped to make meaningful changes in pursuit of a Neopian renaissance. So what exactly was Neopets planning to do? The first major point they covered in the article was fixing the website. Many of the pages on Neopets are still stuck in old formatting and don't fit cohesively with the new design layout, even though I honestly like the old design better, as well as many pieces of coding being unusable after Flash. They also mentioned streamlining customer service, improving side events, and even a new plot. Yay! Overall, this announcement was incredibly exciting for all the people who have been keeping the game alive for so many years, and the enthusiasm of the team seemed very promising. I also linked the announcement in the description if you'd like to read it in full. But now that you know how this new era came about, let's go through everything that they've done since. The first change visible on the site itself was an integrated homepage. This didn't exist in general before. It was simply a login screen that had links to the usual website shit like privacy policies and other projects. This screen here is now what you see when you search neopets.com. It looks a lot crisper and fresher, which is awesome, but in my opinion, it sorta hinders the site navigation a lot. I think it's attempting to compile all of the different Neopets projects into one big hub, but it just kinda reads as messy to me, I don't know. There's also been a couple glitches with random spots on Neopets itself redirecting to this homepage, which does make my blood boil a little bit, but it's cool. It's cool. This isn't a huge change in and of itself, but I think it's worth mentioning because a lot of changes are similar to this. Then we land on July 22nd of 2023, aka the most important day in Neopian history. This day brought a surprise that even people outside the Neopets community have probably heard about, and I regret to inform you that all of me has to tell all of you about it. God. Out of nowhere, and I mean nowhere, 5 days after the initial revamp announcement, John Legend was announced to be a brand ambassador for Neopets. He posted the following video to his Twitter.
Hey everybody, I'm excited to announce that I'm the new brand ambassador for Neopets. You know the game, it's a classic pet game, and it's long been a favorite in our house. And I can't wait to share the joy and nostalgia with all of you. So stay tuned. We'll have some amazing adventures together.
Your first question may be, why? Or possibly, huh? And those are both valid reactions. The brand ambassador title he was given might lead you to believe I have a series of other promotional videos or whatever to show you, but funnily enough, that video is the only thing he's ever done regarding Neopets since then. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm sorry. Chrissy Teigen, his wife, is apparently an avid player, though, which makes sense considering half of the people I've tried to trade with seem to have the exact same vibe as her Twitter does. But either way, this blew up the Neopets communities, and God knows it's been an ongoing meme. We will not be circling back to this. Literally nothing else has happened in this area. I just had to talk about it. As for actual site news that has any effect on the player experience, on July 25th, 50 of the Flash games that had been previously unplayable due to the engine's death were made available to play. These are accessible under the Classic Game Room tab, and scores can be submitted to earn Neopoints. Sometimes. A few people have had issues with glitches and bugs hindering their payment from the old games, but it's kind of understandable considering how many of these were converted at one time. This was a fantastic sign that TNT had plans to actually act on their promises, and with the release of these updated games coming so soon after the announcement, things actually seem to be looking up. A Neocash giveaway where players were encouraged to bring new users to the site and share its socials also went up around this time. I actually won 1,000 NC from this giveaway, so I would like each and every TNT member to know that I love them and I have a ring ready to propose to them with. One thing that I neglected to mention previously that was shared in the article was TNT's plans to do monthly Q&As with Dominic Law. These also began in July, with the first one being with TNT Willow and Ivy on their podcast Nosy Neopians, which we'll talk about a bit more later. I don't want to break up the AMA information all that much, so we're going to talk about what has been said in them right now, just as a whole, as a big ol' lump. If you'd like a detailed rundown of each point, Jelly Neo has full explanations of each AMA, but to highlight the important stuff, NCUCs, or Neocash UCs, were originally slated to be releasing in December, aka this month that we are currently in right now. UCs are unconverted pets, which are highly sought after pets that maintain the pre-2007 art style Neopets had. Neocash is the real money currency in Neopets, so NCUCs equal buyable UC Neopets. This item was described as a sort of paintbrush in the beginning, but has more recently been described as a new object altogether. They're going to be releasing these NC UC items on a batch-by-batch collection basis, starting with UC fairies. The December date was later confirmed to have been pushed back to January of 2024, so we'll see how that pans out. Most of the NC-UC discussion has been kept away from the public, so no news of pricing, trading guidelines, or the like have been announced as of this video. The site's security has been touted as their top priority, which is much needed after multiple data breaches, but the only notable changes that have been made public involve getting old accounts back. They've come up with new guidelines for doing so, and one of those guidelines does involve pounding users' pets who want to come back to their old accounts in certain situations, so that's a choice. If you're currently active on the site, you may have heard of or been affected by the massive inflation levels on many different items. In short, this is mainly caused by two things: guilds mass purchasing items and marking them up out of an affordable range, and tens and thousands of bots that have been programmed to buy items before any real users can get to them to create false scarcity. TNT mentioned in the AMAs that they are aware of this issue and plan to address it, but didn't really give any insight on how they're going to do that, so we'll see. In terms of new features, Dom said that they were considering adding more buyable pet slots and making premium a more rewarding experience for members, but no more light was shed on that other than the premium options going down to only 2 instead of 3. You can only purchase plans month by month or on an annual basis now. Each AMA has its own highlights, but that's the general gist of the questions that have been asked. The answers are, in all honesty, usually pretty tame and filtered, most likely for PR reasons, so we don't tend to get too much vital information from them. We did, however, get an unreadable book as a virtual prize item code, so that's nice. In July and August, Neopets also announced their upcoming visits to multiple conventions, most notably Comic-Con, and partnered with Game Fuel. So cool. Around this time, they also released an updated security and profile page and kind of took a lot of personality out of it, but whatever. Anyway, now we're finally able to move into some more interesting stuff, so I hope the semantics didn't bore you too much. After all of this, September came along, which saw the first major event announcement on Neopets in years, which was the Fairy Festival. My good wonderful friend Amanda already made a full comprehensive guide on the madness of this entire event, so her video is going to be vital in explaining the real extent of its impact. But today I do have a little baby condensed version for you. The festival, which was originally slated to begin late September, was a spiritual successor of sorts to a previous event Neopets hosted called Charity Corner. Charity Corner in its previous form was last seen in 2020, so this came as a much anticipated announcement for longtime players. In short, this event has the player donate unwanted items for certain prizes or perks. The Fairy Festival was very similar in concept, except the execution was just a little bit different, and it included a plot. Your first step was to either pick Team Eudora or Team Elucin, which would determine the prize shop you got access to and the items you received for participation, which were really fucking sick, especially for the emos. You were allowed to donate up to 30 items a day, and the rarity of those items would determine the amount of points received. Originally, they had it set up so you could donate rarities up to 200, which caused a massive inflation of hidden tower items with high rarities, and then a subsequent major drop after they rescinded that ability. Massive inflation still did occur on items with rarities of 102 to 179, as that was the highest point bracket, but hey, this is Neopets, people are gonna inflate shit. If you donated all 30 items each day, you received a fairy recycling capsule. These were items that could not be traded, they could only be opened by the person who had them, and they had absolutely bonkers items in them, from incredibly expensive morphing potions to rare 99 items worth hundreds of millions, and that's not even the biggest thing here. The other massive facet of this event was free daily fairy quests. Usually these quests were only available by random event or fairy quest cookie, but each player had the ability to redeem one a day for free during the event. The pool of possible fairies was narrowed down to only 4: the Grey Fairy, the Battle Fairy, the Rainbow Fountain Fairy, and Queen Fiora, meaning you could pretty much only get major increases in stats or a dip in the Rainbow Fountain that allowed you to change your Neopet's color to almost any available one. Of course, and take a guess here, what do you think happened? You have 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. People inflated all the quest items. The Neopets team responded quickly and actually brought in the pool of items that the fairies could request, which helped a lot, but you know, it's Neopets, so people are gonna act this way. They always do. It's fantastic. I love the drama, I live for it. This quest system was an absolutely huge shocker for everybody involved, with most people I know getting between 2 and 6 fountain fairy dips over the course of the event. For context, I've only maybe gotten naturally 4 over the year that I've played. And by naturally, I mean by purchasing NC Mall fairy cookies, because I have income that's not technically disposable, but I like to treat it like it is. Not only this, but the attention to detail and willingness to update and tweak aspects of it showed showed TNT's active interest in improving the site and listening to people's complaints. There was only one issue with this event, and it was the horrific lag. With so many players returning after hearing of the chaos, the servers were completely overwhelmed with activity, which led to tons of glitches, random redirects, and overall slowness. I lived through the cheat issue. Real ones know what I mean. This continued for quite some time, but the lag has been semi-minimized at this current moment, but trust me, as somebody who was there playing during Lagmageddon, it was fucking insane. The Fairy Festival plot that I mentioned earlier also introduced the setup for a future plot, which is really cool, and I'm excited to see where that goes. After the Fairy Festival, with the unforgettable bliss of multiple fountain dips on everybody's minds, Neopets announced their latest step in improving the site's infrastructure: community ambassadors. And no, not a John Legend type ambassador, don't worry. Neopets themselves described community ambassadors as advocates for the passionate Neopets fanbase. Whatever that means. These ambassadors would be actual members of the Neopets community, and one person would be selected for each facet of the user experience. A Google form was soon posted that allowed you to submit an ambassador application to be considered, which I kind of have no idea what that entailed because I didn't look at it, but it apparently existed. These members would have one-on-one conversations with TNT, be reachable by players to discuss concerns and ideas, and overall be involved with the continued changes being made on the site. That seems like a really good idea in writing, right? Has anything ever gone like perfectly well in this video? Just like think about it. Has anything ever like worked out really well? Like everybody's been like, yay, woohoo, this works out great. I mean, maybe the Fairy Festival, but that's about it. The Neopets community is a fickle beast, and not without reason. I mean, we've kind of been left in the dark a couple times, but I really have no desire to share any information here that I can't personally confirm, and I also don't want to make a bad name for people I've never met nor interacted with on a personal level at all, so I want to keep the community reaction recap to this decision fairly vague and brief. With that being said, the overall mood of the Discord server when these ambassadors were announced was not a friendly one. I'm sure many people had a more jealous standpoint of the events, but some also claim that the ambassadors chosen were not honest players and were involved in cheating, inflation, and the like. As I said before, I haven't ever personally met any of these people, and I have no clue where the claims come from and whether or not they're unfounded, so I can't really say anything on those fronts. Either way, don't harass these people, that's baby bitch shit and I'm not cool with that. Anyway, these newly hired ambassadors began getting absolutely flooded with neo-mails, effectively clogging their inboxes. Of course, none of us could see what was going on behind the scenes, but many rumors and implications began to float around the community. The entire concept of what these ambassadors have been able to connect with TNT about is kept pretty under wraps as far as I know, but it has been stated that they have had monthly meetings with TNT where each ambassador is given a chance to speak and discuss their hopes for their area of interest. How this program is going to evolve in the future, I don't know, but it's had a pretty rocky start, although I wish all of the ambassadors the best. I'm sure it's not an easy job to have to connect to so many players on a face-to-face basis consistently, so good luck, really, I mean it. Later in October, Halloween rolled around. Now, each year, Neopets tends to release trick-or-treat bags with exciting items in them, which are littered around the site for players to collect. Everyone thought that this was going to be another normal, fun goodie bag experience with maybe a Halloween paintbrush or two thrown into the mix, but then people started opening the bags. Items worth hundreds of millions of Neopoints poured out in troves, with even the less valuable items being previously priced at a few million. This was a complete shock to everyone, especially after all the Fairy Festival madness, and the prices of these items began to deflate due to the supply going up. This is a trend that we will see continuing, and the second example of it was released mere hours later. This was a big day for Neopets. I've also already made a video discussing the daily quests, but in short, remember the super duper rare items I told you people received from the Fairy Festival recycling capsules? People were now guaranteed an item with a similar price tag at the end of the week if they completed simple tasks each day for 7 days. The Quests tab also introduced tutorial quests, which had extremely valuable Neocash items listed as prizes, effectively deflating their real monetary value as well, though in a less extreme fashion than the weekly quest prizes. Like I said, I don't really want to spend too much time on this since I've already covered it, but this was also a huge step for TNT. It made a lot of the Neopian 1% angry due to their fancy, holier-than-thou items deflating, but most of the community was simply pleased to finally own items that they dreamed of having as a child. I think that is a wonderful way to liven up the community, and I've personally really enjoyed the daily quests so far. I'm excited to see the future of them. Anyway, that was nice, wasn't it? Flash forward to November, which sees one of the most terrifying issues we've discovered on the site to date, which I'm going to be calling Freaky Friday. It was technically on a Monday, but you know, the movie. I'm not going to change it to Freaky Monday. That just sounds like a weird sex thing. On the 20th, some users began to see a strange difference in their screens when logging on for the morning. Their themes had changed, their pets had changed, and their usernames had changed, or rather, the account that they were on had changed. Home screens would show the interface of a completely different, totally random account as if you were logged into that account instead of your own. Most other pages acted as if you were on your own profile, but some people reported incidents of being able to see other users' safety deposit boxes in pet transfer screens. Sorry, TNT, for immortalizing this, but it's kind of funny now that it's over. People began fearing for the safety of their personal information and their pets, and an instant frenzy took over almost every area of the Neopets community. I personally was logged into Dan the Dragon's account, so hi Dan, how's it going? We're soulmates. The site was somewhat quickly taken down for maintenance, and TNT reported that no changes were actually able to be made to anyone else's accounts, citing that it was simply a cache error, aka something that was only a visible issue, not an actual security issue. However, some people claim that this was not true and that they were able to make changes to accounts that they did not own. Whether this is the truth or not, I don't know, but it was certainly an interesting morning. Only a few things left to cover. You've got this, bestie. We're almost there. This next part is sort of a sensitive topic to cover, and I really don't want to be a gigantic asshole, so I'd like to keep it brief and civil. On November 30th, one of TNT's employees, Willow, announced that she and another employee, Tally, had been laid off from their positions at Neopets. This came as a massive shock to the community, as Willow and Tally were beloved and well-known facets of the Neopets team that would sorely be missed. If you have some keen listening ears, you'll remember that I mentioned Willow as one of the hosts of Nosy Neopians. This announcement was, in all honesty, a very concerning decision to hear as someone from the outside. Of course, I have no information on why this decision was made, but a company attempting to grow laying off employees is usually a frightening turn of events. In any case, I really don't want to speculate about Willow and Tally. They are real people, and I only wish the best for them and their families, especially with the holidays coming up. This is a very personal HR-related issue, and I only wanted to touch on it due to the fact that it was made public, and so the community at large got to weigh in on it. The amount of speculation that I've seen from community members was kind of appalling, and I would really appreciate if people didn't do that. People are still people, even if they're on the internet, just so you guys know. Really cool thing, really awesome thing to consider and think about. Wow. Last but not least, the Advent calendar this year has been a massive deal. In a similar vein to the Fairy Festival and Daily Quest prize pools, the items that have been given out are ones that were previously inaccessible to almost every casual player. Snowickles, Ice Hissy morphing potions, a new pet, and much, much more have been given out this season, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the month has to offer. There is something else, though, and Amanda has again already covered this situation far better than I ever could, so her video on P-Gate is a great resource. P-Gate is the nickname for the re-release of the Seasonal Attack P, which is a massively powerful Battle Dome weapon that has had a value in the near billions for many years. This P was released as a potential bonus prize by clicking on Reyna on the prize acceptance page, so you only had a 1 in 50 chance of receiving it. This, once again, didn't go over well with the people who were hoping to profit off of it. The Discord server had its usual very loud and angry discussion before it was announced by Jelly Neo that the P had been removed from the prize pool altogether due to outrage from the community. This, however, was not true. The P seemingly had never been removed from the prize pool and still remains in it, although rarely gotten today. Where Jelly Neo received the P information from has been speculated upon by many people, and in an effort to not fuel rumors, I suggest you do the research on the situation yourself and determine how you feel from there. I honestly don't know what the fuck to make of any of it. I really don't know. What? Huh? Hello? So, that is every major thing that has happened since the announcement of the Neopets' new era. As a player who really genuinely believes in the future of this site, it makes me so happy to see it attempting to move forward in a better light. Whether or not any of these things come to fruition, the effort from the new team is certainly seen and appreciated, and real changes have been made already. I'm sure I missed a couple things. There are new Neopets hats, I think. I don't know. That's pretty much the only thing I could think of that's like major that I missed, but let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if there was something insane that came out that I just like completely forgot about. Let me know how you're feeling about the new Neopets era. Let me know what your thoughts are, especially if you're an older seasoned player. Tell me what you think. How is the new team doing? How do you feel about it? Neopets, please let me host an AMA. Please, I'd be so good at it. Come on. You don't know that I wouldn't be. You don't know that I would do some weird shit. live, maybe. I don't know. Let me host, please. Also, let me know what your favorite thing from the advent calendar has been so far. Mine has personally been the pebble. I am a pebble stan. I love the pebble. I live and breathe the pebble. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you so much to all of my members, and I will see you guys next time, hopefully with more insane Neopets news, because that shit never ends. I love you guys. Bye bye.